Hello students, welcome to notes on the different types of slope, okay? There's 4 different types of slope. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a second, all right? So for number 1, all right, this slope here, now when you read a slope, you always want to read from left to right. So when you look at the left side, I want you to go towards the right side, okay? So looking at the left side, it looks like it's going up, okay? So this slope is positive. Now let's go and give it a more specific number, okay? Now it looks like this graph here is kind of exactly cutting the x and y, okay, by half. So let's just say that this slope here is x, all right? Or in fact, you know, let's give it a number, okay? 1, okay, 1x or just 1, all right? So this equation, let's just say is y is equal to x. All right, so the slope is 1. You can put a 1 right here to know that the slope is 1. All right, so this is a positive graph. All right. Now, if there's another graph that's also positive, but let's just say it's higher than this guy here. So let's just say it's somewhere like right here. Okay. Now, you know that this slope has to be larger than 1. For example, let's just say this guy, the slope is, I don't know, let's say it's 5 or something like that, okay? Now, if there's a graph that goes this way, okay, you know that his slope has to be less than 1. For example, I don't know, let's just say the graph is like 1/3 or something, all right? So this is steeper, and this one here is not as steep, okay? They call it flatter, all right? Let's look at this graph here. This one from the left to the right, you look like it's going down. Okay, again, you always want to look at the left side and then follow to the right side. So you know that this graph right here is a negative graph. Okay, I don't know, something like y is equal to negative x, okay, or negative 1. All right, so I just say that this graph, the slope is negative 1. Okay, now, again, if the graph is higher, like this way, like this, steeper, they call it, okay, then you know that the slope itself has to be, it's going to be smaller than negative 1, but then it looks like it's a bigger number. For example, like the slope for this guy is like negative, I don't know, negative 8 or something, okay? Negative 8 is actually smaller than negative 1, but the number itself is bigger when you don't look at the negative, okay? Now, what happened if it's down over here? Then you know, again, it's going to be bigger because it's reaching 0, okay? You know it's going to be bigger than negative 1, but the number itself is actually going to be smaller. For example, this slope over here, let's just say it's like, again, it's negative 1, okay? So let's just say it's like negative 1/5 or something like that. All right? Now, what happened if this graph here, it just keeps on going lower and lower and flatter, and it becomes completely flat? Same thing for this guy, okay? If his slope is going lower and lower, okay, smaller number, and then becomes flat, like this graph right over here, this graph here is actually, the slope is actually 0. So let's go and write down 0 slope. All right, now a 0 slope, like an equation for this guy, like y is equal to, I don't know, the y right over here, let's say this number is like 7 or something, the y is equal to 7. All right, now you could also write it as 0x plus 7 if you wanted to, because the slope is 0. Okay, all right, now this guy over here, the very last one, okay, this graph here is a vertical graph. This is a horizontal graph. So this vertical graph over here, this graph and it's like this, okay, when it's going up and higher and higher and higher and it goes up this way, this is actually a graph that's called undefined. Because the reason why is because the graph doesn't make any sense. Remember guys, this is a non-function graph. Okay, it just repeats, like time just got stuck in time or something like that, okay? So again, this is an undefined graph. Like an undefined graph is something like this, like x is equal to, let's say this point here is like 4, okay? So this is like an equation for an undefined graph, all right? So that means the slope doesn't even exist, okay? All right.